A Fighting Socialist Program, a resolution for DSA's National Convention. Whereas, in order to build a new society, our organization must have unity around our goals and beliefs and an ability to explain our politics to people in our lives and communities. Whereas historical socialist parties have developed unity by adopting a program which explains capitalist society, includes demands which connect to present consciousness, and clearly states that the working class will need to conquer political power. Whereas although DSA passed a platform in 2021 and a program for the 2024 elections, DSA has not adopted a clear and precise general program yet. Whereas while DSA remains a broad tent embracing a diversity of socialist tendencies, a DSA program must clearly explain how we will end the capitalist state and place the working class in control of society. Therefore, be it resolved that DSA will adopt a political program to replace both the 2021 platform and Workers Deserve More to be the basis of political unity with the organization and to provide an explanation of our political aims to the working class. And resolve that DSA's program will be posted prominently on our website and other materials, included in new member materials, and will be distributed widely among both our membership and the wider working class. And resolved that the program so adopted may only be changed at a national DSA convention. And resolved that the Workers Deserve More Coordinating Committee will be renamed Program Coordinating Committee and will be tasked with promoting chapter use of the program, and resolved that the Program Coordinating Committee will be further tasked with assisting chapters in adapting an immediate program to local and tactical conditions, providing a practical bridge between the struggles chapters engage in and the long-term political struggle waged by DSA, and resolved that DSA adopts the following as its program. Political Program of the Democratic Socialists of America. We live in a country run by a class of bosses and billionaires called capitalists. They have bought and run the Democratic and Republican parties, most news outlets, colleges and universities, and every branch of government from city halls to the Senate. They use their power to exploit the vast majority who work to live, the hundreds of millions of us who make up the working class. This system can only be ended by the working class taking political power from the rich and building a new society. We in the Democratic Socialists of America fight for that society, a democratic socialist society. Our wages are stagnant, our hours are long, and prices are only growing higher. We increasingly live paycheck to paycheck, one bad day away from financial ruin, and yet it is our labor that powers this unjust system. The capitalists who own the businesses we work at take all the profits for themselves and use them to control our society. This is the exploitation that defines the capitalist system. The capitalist system exploits black, immigrant, and indigenous people by dividing them from the rest of the working class. Millions of people of color face discrimination, unemployment, and police violence, locking them out of political power and an equal quality of life. Oppressive laws restricting abortion, marriage, and self-expression force women and queer people to choose between being controlled by their family or living in poverty outside of it. Different people face different kinds of oppression, but as members of the working class, we all want to control the direction of our lives. Every law, policy, or practice that oppresses us for who we are stems from the capitalist control over our society and reinforces it. We all have a common interest against the capitalist bosses. Their rule threatens our freedom and safety. To be able to defeat the ruling class and end their exploitation of our labor, we need to fight the oppression every working person faces in this country. No matter their race, gender, or sexual orientation, we stand side by side. Capitalism is a global system that exploits workers around the world. The most powerful capitalists use their wealth to influence governments into waging wars, toppling other governments, and starving entire peoples with sanctions and embargoes. They use this power to coerce other countries into selling their natural resources, labor, and goods for cheap prices. This imperialist exploitation forces workers of wealthy and poor countries to compete in a race to the bottom. The United States has become a superpower through exploiting and oppressing countries throughout the Middle East, Latin America, Asia, and Africa while crushing and bribing workers at home. As workers in the most powerful country on the planet, we must build a global movement against the exploitation of the working class by opposing our government's imperialist goals and toppling its capitalist backers. Both political parties work for the capitalist class in a political system rigged to keep the ruling class in charge. The working class needs a party of its own to change this. We need an organization by and for our class where our politicians reflect our values and where we make our decisions democratically. Democratic Socialists of America is that party. We are united by a program of putting workers in control. In our fight against oppression and exploitation, we sit with our neighbors on rent strikes, stand with unions and strikes to win better pay and benefits, protest oppression, and feed our communities. We elect our own members to legislatures around the country to speak out against injustices while fighting for health care and cheap groceries. Winning reforms or building a mass workers' party alone is not enough. The Constitution is written to protect the rich few from the working majority. Anything we win from the rich can be taken away with the stroke of a pen. The historic victories of the labor movement, the New Deal, and the civil rights movement are already being stripped away. In order to protect our victories and implement the wider changes we need, the working class must take political power from the rich and create a new republic based on a democratic constitution. But winning the battle for democracy is just the start of the fight. The capitalist class will fight back tooth and nail with their control of industries and money. If we want a government by and for workers to stand a chance, we must immediately use political power to seize control of key industries and finance. We will replace the secret deliberations of a few shareholder boards with public democratic control at every level of the economy. We will have a socialist society, where economic prosperity will serve our needs instead of profit. The future of our country and the future of humanity will be decided by which class rules, capitalists or workers. Democratic Socialists of America is dedicated to overthrowing the capitalist dictatorship and establishing a democratic socialist government. What we fight for today. DSA fights all over the country for policies that will improve the lives of working people today. These policies alone will not end the unjust system we live under, but we believe that by fighting the bosses for things working people need right now, we can build a movement that can eventually take power and build a government of working people. 1. End the deportations. ICE's deportations are a weapon used to oppress the working class and must end immediately. Abolish ICE and end the exploitation of migrant workers. 2. Stop the genocide. Free Palestine. We call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. In support for the state of Israel, including military support, weapons sales, the targeting of pro-Palestinian activists, and tax incentives for Israeli bonds. 3. Lower the prices. People are struggling to make ends meet. The cost of living must go down. Essential goods like food, water, and energy must be made affordable by controlling the prices directly. 4. Jobs for all. A good job is a human right. We demand the minimum wage be increased to $20 an hour, a 32-hour work week, and a jobs program guaranteeing everyone in this country a living wage. 5. Medicare for all. Nobody should be afraid of going bankrupt due to a medical emergency. We demand the cancellation of all medical debt and a universal healthcare system that includes abortion and gender-affirming care. 6. Housing is a human right. Nobody should sleep on the streets. Freeze rents and evictions and allow tenants to collectively bargain. Create universally accessible social housing by redistributing housing hoarded by landlords. 7. Democratic elections. Our elections are undemocratic, with an unrepresentative Senate, gerrymandered House districts, restrictions on voting rights, and unaccountable money spent by super PACs. We fight for voting rights for all, ending the Electoral College, public campaign finance, and proportional representation. 8. Fight oppressive laws. We fight for sanctuary cities and oppose every oppressive or discriminatory law. We are fighting to end all legal and political oppression against people based on their race, gender, sexual orientation, immigration status, disability, and more. DSA stands for New Rights and Laws Protecting the Oppressed. 9. Protect the environment. Corporations must not destroy the environment for their profits. Environmental regulations must be enforced to protect our communities. We fight for a Green New Deal to begin investing in green energy, infrastructure, and build free public transportation with a just transition for every worker. 10. A union for every worker. Dignity at work is a fundamental right. We call for a mass new organizing campaign by the largest trade unions and demand a government which protects the right of workers to organize and gives federal workers the right to strike. We are fighting and building unions to organize every worker in a powerful democratic union. Winning a socialist republic. Democratic Socialists of America fights today for things like universal health care, jobs for all, and ending oppression, but we do not limit ourselves to individual reforms. We fight to create a new society. Doing that requires a mass movement of the working class, ready to decisively defeat the capitalists and end their rule over society. Democratic Socialists of America puts forward the following program to end capitalist dictatorship and begin building a socialist society. 1. A democratic socialist republic. We are fighting for the working class to conquer power from the capitalists, smash their oppressive state, and create a government controlled by the working class. We are fighting to build a working class democracy, a socialist society without the racist prison and police system where we finally will be able to live as equals. 1. Abolish the presidency and the Senate and place supreme political power in a working class democracy consisting of a unicameral legislature, workers' councils, and popular assemblies. 2. Guarantee freedom of speech, protest, organizing, and the right to strike. 3. All elections to be conducted proportionally. 4. Provide universal citizenship for residents and guarantee freedom of movement through our borders. 5. Replace existing law enforcement agencies with a public safety force run by local communities for de-escalation and protecting democratic and social rights. Ban former officers from joining and eliminate qualified immunity. 6. Guarantee full rights for people under trial and rehabilitation and transform prisons into public facilities for rehabilitation and re-entering society. End all forms of prison slavery. 7. Enshrine the right to abortion, receive reproductive care, and form families regardless of marriage or blood relation. 2. A workers' economy. A mass workers' movement for political power must immediately place the economy under the control of the working class. With democracy in our workplaces, schools, and neighborhoods, we can leverage prosperity to build a good life for everyone. 1. Nationalize large corporations, transportation, and essential industries, replacing the shareholder boards with public workers' councils drawn from unions and accountable to working-class democracy. 2. Provide housing, food, education, water, family care, and other fundamental necessities of life to all residents. Support the creation of public spaces and art. 3. Guarantee universal health care for all free at point of service. Coverage to include disability care, gender-affirming care, and reproductive health care. 4. End the segregation and exploitation of Black people and other people of color. Use the wealth of the rich to pay reparations and build their communities. 5. Nationalize all utilities and build a national power grid using solar, wind, and other clean energy technologies in place of fossil fuels. Secure a just transition to a sustainable economy and respect planetary boundaries. 6. Centralize infrastructure and provide free public transit across the country, including expanded regional and high-speed electric rail. 3. An end to empire. A socialist government will end foreign wars and the war against oppressed people at home. End the United States' part in exploitation of the international working class and pursue a just transition for the majority of defense workers toward work which serves all of humanity. 1. Limit the military to self-defense, public infrastructure, and disaster relief, with its leadership accountable to working-class democracy. Guarantee civilian rights and residence during military service. 2. Grant all nations and colonies within the United States the right to determine their destiny, including separation or joining the Republic. 3. Guarantee a right of return to indigenous nations based on historic treaties or adaptations by their democratic representatives. 4. Close all overseas military bases. End our occupation of other countries and bring our military home. End trade in weapons, dismantle all secret agencies, and grant immunity and protection for whistleblowers. 5. End sanctions and economic strong-arming of other countries. 6. End all economic and military support for states engaged in apartheid or genocide. 7. Share research, resources, and technology needed to build an interconnected global energy infrastructure powered completely by clean, renewable energy sources. Resolved, the section of the program entitled What We Fight For Today is adopted until the 2027 National Convention, when the Program Coordinating Committee will provide an update for the National Convention within its consensus proposal. If significant political changes make a demand redundant or require signifying rewording to reflect changed conditions before the 2027 convention, the NPC may amend the What We Fight For Today section by 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the NPC. Amendments to the program may not contradict the full program and should be drawn from the principles of the full program.